You know when you're feeling a little bit exhausted? Well, here's the thing. Most burnout doesn't actually look like a breakdown. It looks like you still showing up, still producing, still performing, still fine, still grand, still great, until your body finally signals no. Your brain stops working in the way that it should, and everything starts to feel a little bit like you're pushing water up the frickin' hill. If you're a coach, a consultant, or a service provider, you, my friend, are the engine of your business. Which means if you experience burnout, it's not just going to be a vibe killer for you, it's also going to be a revenue killer. I'm Deirdre Martin, business mentor, author, and your no BS guide to building a six-figure business that doesn't burn you out. And today I'm joined by someone who doesn't just talk about burnout, she lived it, studied it, and now helps high performers recover in 7 days or less. Claire O'Connor is an absolute powerhouse. She's a 4-time All-Ireland Camogie champion, a master educator, a leadership coach, and a stage-slaying musical star, no less. And she's here to walk us through the 5 sneaky stages of burnout and the 3 shockingly simple steps to stop it in its tracks. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly how to spot the earliest signs of burnout and what to do about it before your body or your business pays the price. Let's dive in. Claire O'Connor, welcome to the Master Your Business podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you very much, Deirdre. Might as well tell you, I'm a huge fan. I've learned a huge amount from your podcast. Honestly, at times when you forget to do things, Deirdre comes in with another episode and I have something else to learn. So it's my privilege to be here.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm like teary-eyed now. And so, Claire, I brought you here because I know that you are a freaking expert when it comes to burnout and that you help people experience relief from burnout in 1 week or less, which is like amazing because I've been burned out. I know how all-consuming it is. But first off, burnout, what is it?
Well, there's lots of different definitions skimming around, and the more you look, the more diverse it becomes. But really, from my own experience, and I guess you're going to relate to this, to simplify it for anybody listening, it's physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion caused by a continuous long period of chronic stress. So if you're feeling stressed for a very long time and cannot snap out of it, you are on your road to full-scale burnout.
I've definitely been there. And, recently I've been studying and coaching with neuroscience. And one of the things that has come up, and really, I've recorded a solo episode about this, it's about decision fatigue as well. And like your brain not being able to close the loop to make the decisions, which also is stressful in and of itself too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's decision-making fatigue, actually more so in women than in men. Why? Because women hold many, different roles and responsibilities during the day. Men are a little bit better at handling that as well because they don't get as emotionally invested. It doesn't mean that men don't suffer from burnout. They do. It's 50% feeling burnout across healthcare, across the legal world, all those systems where it's high pressure all the time. The thing about women, though, is we do get decision-making fatigue more easily, and we tend to ignore our own suffering because we spend most of our time looking after other people. I was no different when I burnt out. I'm sure you weren't, Deirdre, but it's really important for women to recognise, and men, if you are not able to put 2 good days together, if you are not feeling any sort of emotion when your child draws you a picture and gives it to you, if you're, retracting from social events, if you are feeling like, I can't even make a decision, that procrastination actually snowballs the impact of burnout. And like you say, that decision making, you can't close any loop. What's interesting about burnout is it starts actually initially on a high. You could go through 12 phases of burnout, but for the purposes of today, you can kind of simplify it into 5. Step 1 is honeymoon phase. What does that look like? It kind of looks like, I got a new job. We finally moved into our new house. There's a change in the schedule of the house. There's more responsibilities with kids and schedules and sports and activities. And it begins to snowball, but you are nailing it. Oh my God, give me more. Is honeymoon phase. It's like there's high productivity, high energy, but it cannot last forever. And so when I say about the energy thing, that's really important because by the time you're burnt out, you've energy for nothing. Even though the stress nearly becomes numbed because you've just plain panned out. You just can't feel anything anymore. But the onset then of burnout is stage 2, which is, I'm starting to run out of a bit of energy here. I was really productive getting 3 or 4 tasks done in an hour for work and my boss was delighted, but I can't keep up this pace. So the stress starts to kick in and you start to kind of kick back going, I know it can't last forever, but I'm expected to have this standard, so I shall push through.
I see that a lot with clients, Claire, who own their own businesses. And where it's sometimes delivery. Let's say they take on too much work and they don't have the team to support them. So I've had clients tell me that they worked until 3 or 4 in the morning. And I'm like, oh, no, 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 we need to stop that. That can't happen again. And, putting the systems in place to make sure it doesn't happen. And people say to me as well, Deirdre, like that consistency, that grind, sometimes with the marketing piece is really hard. And I'm like, okay, well, let's take a step back and see what's going on and how can we slow that down? Or maybe is there a better way for you to do it instead of pushing water up a hill,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what you do when you move into stages 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
Stage 3 then is like chronic stress, which puts the body and the mind at dis-ease. So you know where I'm going with that. Dis-ease is disease. And that's where it goes to. Could be mental, could be physical, could be emotional, but you're definitely suffering at this point. One thing that might be really good for people to recognize if they're listening to this and saying, oh my God, it sounds like me. It sounds like a lot of people up to stage 3. But stage 3 is when functional freezing comes in. And that's like, I summoned every piece of energy I have for this task. Could be the day job, could be a weekend event, could be an event for your business or for work. But then after that, you've nothing left to give. So picture yourself driving into your drive, using every ounce of energy you've had to give your energy to the day, complete the task. And then it's 6 o'clock and you have to make dinner and get on to schedules, the home schedule, cleaning the kids. Maybe you don't have kids, but maybe there's nothing left in the tank. That's stage 3. So if you kind of recognize, oh my God, that's me, this is a really good time to pause.
Okay, wake up, listen.
Yeah. Your body and mind are screaming. And what your mind can't tell you, Deirdre, your body will. It's almost grinding to a halt. You're walking with the handbrake on. You're driving with the handbrake on in your car. That's the sensation you have. It's like, I have to push through. What's really interesting is people think, oh, burnout happens to people who hate their jobs or hate their manager or hate their leader. The opposite is kind of counterintuitive. Usually it happens to really passionate people, really driven people who are willing to push through anything to get there. And I'll give you a really simple example is myself. On my second burnout, it wasn't even my first. When one morning, I was running a social event for my school. I was in charge of basically a school bazaar for the first time. So I'll give you some context. It was never done before. I was doing it on my own, plus running a classroom of 36 kids, plus running all the sports teams. Today, there's a committee of probably more than 60 people involved in running that bazaar. So that was the responsibility I took on. Now, I'm saying this because I didn't ask for much help, but I am a high performer. I do push through, and one of my strengths is perseverance. So for anybody who's a high performer out there or listening to this or owns their own business, if you are a high performer and you're pushing through, be really careful that you're not using your strengths to your disadvantage. That's exactly what I did. I persevered to get the job done. The next morning was a Monday morning and I could not lift my head off of the pillow, off my bed. And I really realized, oh my God, I didn't even know what it was, Deirdre. I didn't know until I was, I had to get taken care of medically. What happened was I'd actually burnt my mouth a week previous, but kept taking medication to get to school, which ended up in a full-blown infection in my whole body. I remember even during the event taking medication to keep the pain away. Ridiculous perseverance, using my strengths against myself, self-sabotaging on every level. And that is when my journey to recovery began. It was a real realization. My body is telling me what my mind is not processing.
Wow. And I honestly can say I have had a similar experience. For me, the first time I really felt it, I encountered it, it was always my body that
Mm.
signaled to me that this is happening. And it was cases where, let's say, I was working all the hours and now I was in banking. You might be going, how are you working all the hours, Deirdre? Because I would stay late to help the team or I'd come in early to get stuff done for a client and all those things. But my first real symptom of it was when I again like that, then I'd come home and do all the stuff with the kids and the dogs.
Mm.
And my husband was working longer hours than me at the time as well, to be fair, but great support outside of that. But what happened was I was in work and working through projects in work. And at the time I was a lending manager, I was a commercial lending manager. So I was advancing loans all day.
Yeah.
We're going out to do client visits and site visits and stuff and see their businesses, how do their business work and all that sort of stuff. And then I'd get back to the desk and I'd have to process it all and all that sort of stuff. And anyway, like it was a lot of responsibility because you'd have pressure from clients, you'd have pressure internally to lend, and then you'd have the lenders going, yes, we will or we won't do that for whatever reason. And, and then you've all the responsibilities on top of it. My mum
Absolutely.
was sick and dying as well at the time. So I had that going on.
Mm.
Yeah, there was loads happening. And what started to signal for me was my back. And it's
Mm.
interesting, if you've ever read Louise Hay's stuff, it's like, that pressure on your shoulders, that weight on
Mhm.
your shoulders. It's like you're carrying the world on your back. And that's exactly what it was for me. I felt like I was carrying the world on my back. And it got to the stage where when I go to stand up from my desk at work or out the chair or out of my bed in the morning,
Mhm.
it would take me about 2 minutes to actually get straight. I had the weight of the world on my back. I was bent in two. Until
Mhm.
finally my back went. My back snapped. And I
Yeah.
3 months nearly in bed and getting physio and on medication to get right before I could go back to work. And it was literally that. It was the weight of the world on my back. And that's how I felt at the time.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, I think, Claire, with this, and I'm learning more about this as I study coaching with neuroscience, is that sometimes we're a bit like pressure cookers, aren't we?
Mm.
Yours, women,
Yeah. Even
are,
even men, yeah.
ah,
But the thing is, Deirdre, we can sometimes recognize it. That's
mm,
the problem, is that we don't know, because culture now so celebrates 12-hour working days, and that pace is what's expected, or it's just become normalized. So a lot of people don't even know what their normal is anymore because they're pushing through. But what you say there is physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion due to the variety of roles you are doing. And, you're at the point of chronic stress and fatigue, which is way beyond stage 3. It's stage 4, it's hardcore burnout. And you just can't think anymore. It's like you're grinding to that halt, driving with the handbrake on, and your mind couldn't process it. So, what's really, really important is at that point recognizing that it is burnout. Stage 4 is burnout. Stage 5 is habitual burnout, which is getting out of burnout for a while, relaxing, taking the foot off the pedal in the car, releasing the handbrake, driving forward again, like all driven people do. And the next thing, we fall into the cycle of overworking, chronic stress, just to push through, persevere, win.
mhm,
That's what happens. And that was me as well. It was that habitual burnout. It was IBS the first time. A couple of years later, it was this full scale infection. So thank you for actually recognizing that it is in your body. It eventually comes to your body. And that's really important for especially clients of yours or anybody listening. If they're running their own business, you are the most likely to burn out, but you are driven, you are passionate, you are extremely high potential person. You also have the best potential to recover quickly. So you
mhm.
say 3 months in bed with your physical pain, but you can come out of burnout. Now, a holiday is not going to fix it. A holiday, a 1 week holiday in the sun, doesn't fix it. But what's interesting is it took you 3 months to recover in bed from the physical pain, but it also provided you the opportunity to reset emotionally and mentally.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, folks listening, you are the biggest asset in your business. If this
Hmm.
is happening to you, it's time to do something about it. And like Claire, as you're talking, I'm just picturing somebody I know who I've reached out to help because I can see them on that cycle of habitual burnout. I'm like, you
Yeah.
need to go and speak to this person again. uh,
Yeah.
if I'm talking to you, because that's exactly what's happening to her. And what's interesting too, I think, is like in that pressure cooker, what I see happening, and I've seen it with colleagues, peers, team members over the years, is that people wear masks, I think, when this is
Hmm.
on. And sometimes the masks might be for themselves, never mind, like, like they're masking it themselves. And it could be they become agreeable. They're just like, they can't say no because they don't have the willpower. They're persevering, to your point. So they're just
Mm.
agreeable. And I think other times they freeze when they're in that pressure point as well. And on top of that, I'd say there's a few other masks that people are putting on when they're just trying to push through. Have you
Absolutely.
ever?
Yeah. Masking is huge. Masking is huge. And they think they're masking, but actually everybody else can see the signs. It's funny, like an unfinished job. You can't put in your proper ability and capabilities into your job because you just don't have it in the tank. So you might think, oh, this is good enough, but it's absolutely not. You might see somebody who's really hurt, but you don't care because you can't dive that deep emotionally. And another thing that's worth noting, Deirdre, is if somebody is sleeping and resting, but they're not waking up rested, it's like this condition of feeling like you need to sleep all the time, but you actually can't rest. It's not restful. So I see the masking a lot, but the masking isn't actually true. It's still the cracks come through. The work is under par at every performance in every area of your life. And I mean performance as just surviving. I don't mean like on stage, hands shaking, I just mean the basic everyday standard performance is to live a good and fulfilled life. This is completely gone. The other thing I'd say is a lot of the reasons that burnout comes in the first place is often like the WHO says that it's due to workplace stress. Yes, to a point, but if you're a caregiver at home, or if you have just a jam-packed agenda to keep all the balls rolling for the many people in your family, burnout doesn't just happen in the workplace. It can happen for being the consistent caregiver to a child or a parent or an elderly person. So we have to be really careful because you're giving care, you're giving your emotion, your mental capacity, your energy. Another thing that's worth noting is that oftentimes burnout comes because there are a lack of boundaries, whether it's in the workplace with the job spec, the expectation at work, the time boundary of how much time you give to the job, lack of clarity from your leader. The psychological safety is absent. Like, what does my boss expect? When does he expect it?
Very clear. I don't. That can apply to if you're a business owner and you haven't clarified the scope of your deliverables, maybe with a client. Maybe if the client is asking for extra things and you're doing them, but maybe without contracting for them, so that then the work expands on your part. You're not being paid for it, but maybe you haven't managed the client's expectations around, you know what, that absolutely I can do that for you. It just won't be today or tomorrow this week. It'll be next week. Those boundaries, being boundaried around that is huge. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
thought
and
you're bringing this up, Claire.
it comes from lack of clarity. And that lack of clarity is not just in your job. That lack of clarity starts with you, which is very much based around self-awareness. Believe me, I am a very capable person, but I did not have self-awareness when I was burning out twice. I didn't have it. I didn't even know what burnout was. I just thought, this is the expectation. This is the level. I have a standard to keep that I've set. My uncle actually said to me that second time I burnt out, you burnt your mouth, Claire, but you're burnt out. It was the first time that somebody labeled it to me, and he was a psychotherapist. And I remember at the time sitting in front of my fire. It was as miserable as I was. I couldn't even get the fire going. And I would talk about symbolism in my real life. I was like, oh God, I'm as miserable as the fire. That was it. I couldn't move off the couch. I was sitting there crying, and he could see it because he was educated and trained. But that self-awareness, I needed him to spell it out. He spelled it out to me. And then I was mortified because the high performer wants to succeed. And so does everybody you work with. They are just up there. So That's how I ended up doing 2.5 years of research on people who have burnt out. Pretty much all of them are high performers. Pretty much all of them have multiple roles. Multiple roles could just be job plus kids. That is multiple roles. And they all would say the same thing. And the lack of self-awareness, they were completely dedicated to everybody else's schedule. They were completely psychoanalyzing everybody they worked with. What are their expectations of me? Guesswork all the time and constantly, on that hamster wheel of go, go, go till they flatlined.
That's mad, isn't it? Because I think probably people who think that, who do you look at who's going to burn out? You think it's probably going to be, I don't know, like doctors, surgeons, and probably they do. But like, what are other misconceptions or types of people that you're seeing burning out a lot? And that they're not even realizing it. They're completely getting it wrong around that.
Yeah. Like I have worked with everyone from CEOs to president of the marketing committee of massive global companies to a stay-at-home mom. It can happen anywhere. And it all comes back to self-awareness and self-regulation. And I was in education for 20 years. Self-regulation and well-being is now only being equated to maths, English on the level of importance in the education system, because I facilitated the education of the staff bodies and the department for it. But this is the thing. We are not educated in I don't mean self-care, because honestly, it's self-awareness. Who am I? What am I capable of? Interestingly, Brené Brown did a self-awareness study on thousands of people. 85% of them thought they were self-aware, but when she put them through the test and the quiz, it was only 10 to 15%. So, shocker, burnout is happening. It's in over 50% of the workplace. But what's really great about it is if you are that driven person, you have the potential to recover. But it does start with awareness. Where am I? Like, I didn't even know what this was. I just thought I had to stay going. I had another client who absolutely could be nailing the job. That's it, showing up, an amazing leader, gets home, can't bring it together to walk in and make dinner. And then her breakdown was actually having to coach the local football team of under fives. It wasn't at the high performing job. It was like, I've no more to give. I can't. And then we started to work on boundaries. It took her 2 weeks to summon the courage with the right wording to create that boundary, because her people pleasing was, oh my God, it was off the scale. And she couldn't tell the other parents, I don't have the capacity for this. So when I'm working with clients, we even have to work through the wording of what they're going to say, because they've gone in so deep with serving others so well that they almost don't know how to come back, or they almost don't know how to pause. And it becomes the lever or the catalyst for change once they learn how to, work back to the wealth that's most important to them, whether it's time wealth, health wealth, financial wealth, or social wealth. Those 4 wealths kind of dominate who you are and how you live. So once they establish what it is they want, it's easier to set the boundaries in their life that they need to come back from burnout, back to their brilliant selves or back to their balanced selves.
Oh, I love that. And that poor lady, oh my God. I was like getting goose pimples there when you're talking about her. And like, Claire, for people who are listening, so you talked us through the 5 stages and they're super clear and really great to have for anybody listening. But what are some of the really early indicators, like the micro signs that are happening and they're heading in that direction?
Yeah, there's loads, but they don't present anything other than I'm stressed out. Like you're snapping at your kids. You couldn't be bothered eating the dinner. The dinner might be in front of you. It's like, oh, whatever. So there's an argument at work and you don't care. Or the opposite. You see an argument at work and you feel the need to run in and fix it. You can't summon the energy to finish a letter that you've written or an email, or you don't really realize it, but you've got nothing left in the tank. When you come home, all you want to do is sit down and watch TV. And that's normal to a point. But if it keeps going, it becomes worrisome. And throwaway comments that you actually don't care what somebody's reaction is. Like I said, that irritated sleep, it really is important to know like I had a woman who, when she burnt out and she was running her own business, her number one thing was sleep. And she couldn't figure out why it was that her sleep, and she's a hustler. She's actually a sprinter for the USA. So she couldn't get it right. And she ended up investing in an 8-bed. An 8-bed is a really expensive bed. It's thermally regulated. It's got all the apps in the bed. And she started to study her sleep. And lo and behold, when she put her focus on something that she could record statistically, it started to improve for her. So it can look like anything. And most people blow it off as just a busy season. If you are saying that to yourself, it's just a busy time, I'll get over it. When the kids get back to school, I'll focus on myself. It never happens because the pressure eases off just enough for you to stay going. And then it's
That's
just
the habitual one then.
that's habitual.
That,
When you get that release, that holiday or whatever people think the rest is, it's not enough. You're still not functioning at your best. You're still in fight or flight mode, which creates dis-ease down the line.
And like you see it, like so many people come home from work or finish work every day and they sit on the couch and lounge with Netflix, or they numb out with a glass of wine or two, or whatever the poison is, or, numb out with shopping, online shopping. Like people find ways, I think, to numb out. And another one is by the description that you shared there, I'd call it checking out. So they're out of the impact maybe that they're having. It's a bit like, I call it dilly gaff. Do I look like I give a fuck? Or I've only got so many books to give and that's not going to be on one of them. And then that's a healthy boundary thing. But and it's like being mindful of that. And is this really something that you should give a fuck about? And if not, if it is, and you don't, well then awareness, right? So
it comes back to awareness. And that lack of awareness. You don't care what kind of standard of work you're producing anymore. Or maybe you care so much that you can't stop. That's a really big one I see is sometimes the awareness starts to come like, I need to stop, but I don't know how. You might see that a lot with your clients is they really, really want it so much. They really know that they need to protect their energy, time, sleep, whatever it is, but they don't know how to stop. This is massive, especially for those high performers who own their own businesses, who really want to achieve. They don't know how to stop, which is an absolute alarm bell. You mentioned there's someone working till 3 or 4 a.m. I mean, that's something that my body physically would stop me. Just because I've burnt out and learned all the everyday tools that I use, I couldn't do that. I know what's going to happen if I persevere.
Yeah. Well, that awareness is amazing that you have that and you have the tools now and the flags for you. And I'd love to hear then. So when people are in this or, they're recognizing they're doing these things, they're in any of those 5 phases, what are some of the things that they can do that will help? Like habits can be difficult to form, to create. What can they do?
I think really it's worth mentioning what can they ask first of themselves. What is this costing me to stay in this situation or the way I'm feeling? What is it costing me? Because when people relate a cost to their suffering, they're able to kind of establish in their mind if it's worth thinking about, using a different path. For me, it definitely cost me 100 grand, that second burnout. I ended up taking a year out of school, out of work, as well as all the different treatments I took and, all the things I did. It was definitely 100K. So what is it costing me to stay this way? That's the first step, especially if they're thinking, oh, that sounds a bit familiar. The second thing is awareness. So I have a really simple quiz. I'll give it to you, Deirdre. You can leave it on the podcast. And it gives you an area. Am I in 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 of the areas we discussed today? It's about 2 minutes, but it brings awareness to, I know I'm okay. I'm not too bad. Or it also says, oh, I'm in about a stage 3. Time to really step back and realize, what am I not including in my life right now that I traditionally use to keep myself in a balanced place? So what does it cost me? Where am I at now? And then what's not in my life now that kept me balanced? So for me, that was exercise. For me, it has to be outdoors and it has to be 3 times a week. I absolutely know that I'm kept well that way. So that's the quiz. You know where you're at. You know what you need to put back into your life if it's been missing. There is another really simple nighttime technique. I was trying to think of the rapid fire stuff that we could talk about, Deirdre. And this is one of them. It's called the 3-2-1 technique. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. But it's a reframe for all the driven and passionate people who constantly self-critique, constantly say, I'm not good enough, I haven't done enough, it's not fast enough. And that is just to rephrase that at night, getting into bed. You can journal it or you can just practice it in your head. 3 things that went well today. 3 things that I achieved, 3 things that I feel were successful. 2 things I want to work on tomorrow. So that reframes the language you're using. I didn't get this done, didn't get that done. God, I still haven't finished that. Instead, it says, they're the 2 priorities I have for tomorrow. So 3 things that went well, 2 things that I want to work on tomorrow or that I could improve tomorrow. But let's stick with that I want to work on because it removes that I haven't done it yet. One thing I'm really proud and grateful for, that kind of settles you in the moment. Now, Deirdre, this is really fast. You can do it in 30 seconds. Obviously, if you write it down, you retain 24% more. But as time goes by, you're able to do it really quick. 3, 2, 1. What's gone well? I do it with my son coming home from soccer training. 3 things that went well, 2 things you can work on in the next training, 1 thing you're really proud of. It's so simple. So let's reframe. Ask yourself what it's costing you. Is it costing you your business? Is it costing you your family? Is it costing you money because your time is taken? Number 2 is see where you're at with that quiz. And if you're afraid to take it, you very definitely should take it because that's a warning sign. I'm nearly afraid to look. Number 3 then is the 3, 2, 1 technique. That's really simple, really fast. And the last thing, I was trying to think, what else could we do really quickly before everyone spirals? And that is protect your time a little more. Instead of jumping in with the people pleasing, yes, say, I'll get back to you on that when I check my schedule. Or can I get back to you on that? It's the simplest reframe on saying yes more slowly. And a lot of people who are high performers want to also get things done for other people. They're generous people. Ask a busy person and they'll get it done. But really, it's, can I get back to you on that? I think I'm caught there. And it just reframes it in an easier way to say yes to them more slowly. You're giving yourself some breathing space. All in the name of self-awareness, Deirdre. All in the name of getting yourself back to your brilliant self.
Oh my gosh. And they're so simple, easy, and don't cost anything to do. And definitely go and check out Claire's quiz, do the quiz, see where you're at. If any of the things that you've been talking about, Claire, resonated with the people listening today, definitely go and check that out. Claire, oh my gosh, I feel like in a whirlwind tour of what burnout is and how to overcome it. Is there anything that you haven't said yet that you feel, oh, I wish people knew this actually about burnout?
You know, it's more about your self-sabotage. When I work with clients, we always investigate self-sabotage. And usually when you realize what your self-sabotaging behaviors are, and we go through it in-depthly, it is a game changer. Your own self-sabotage is like a blind spot to you. You can't even see when you're doing it. You might talk about what you do, but that doesn't always reflect the action you take on a daily basis to self-sabotage. And, you know, it's a really interesting journey. Have a look at that. That's something that leads to burnout when you have these consistent sabotaging behaviors. So it's worth mentioning and it's worth people paying attention to.
I love that. And actually, I think there's a quiz that you can do with positive intelligence. If I can find a link for that, I'll share that in the show notes as well, so people can see what their top saboteurs are. And I know for me, this is mine, and I recognize when I'm doing it, and recognizing it, knowing that I'm doing it, helps avoid the burnout. What I do is, if I'm stressed or I have decisions rolled around in my brain or there's things bothering me, I stay up super late and I sabotage my sleep. And like your UX athlete, sprinter, also a sprinter, by the way, maybe it's a
Woo, it's the speed thing.
it is. I'm like, oh gosh, I like fast horses, fast cars, fast running, all the things. Moral of the story is sleep, right? So sleep,
Yeah.
I sabotage my sleep. And then that, when I'm too tired because I've sabotaged my sleep, then I don't exercise, which I usually do every morning. And then when I haven't slept and I haven't exercised, I eat rubbish. I eat crappy food. And then you just feel meh for, don't you, for a few days.
Absolutely.
Afterwards, it's like they say, what is it that they say? Isn't it like, for what did you eat 72 hours ago? Because that's how I'm feeling today. What did you do 72 hours ago? 3 days ago, what were you doing? Because that's impacting how you feel today.
Yeah.
So for me, one of the things I've cut out, and I've done it regularly over the years, alcohol gone, because that affects how I sleep. So I
Hmm.
don't drink anymore. I've quit again. And I go through phases where I'll drink for a couple of weeks or a couple of months or a couple of years, like, and not heavily, but just get rid of it. And I feel
Yeah.
so much better because, I might have 2 glasses of wine. That's enough for
Hmm.
me. But by
Hmm.
Monday or Tuesday, I feel it.
Hmm.
And it's like
Hmm.
that impact on me then, it's just not worth it. So, if anybody listening and that resonates, just think through what can you do to help you right now, but to help you 72 hours from now, because your daily decisions determine your destiny.
Absolutely.
You
All
know?
the D's. Yeah.
Ah,
And that's really good that you noted that it's alcoholic. And that it's also anxiety inducing. Something as simple as a glass of wine can be very anxiety inducing the next day. What happens? You start climbing the walls, you have all this underperforming, a sense of underperformance. For all those business owners, if they can't manage it, it's really bad. Deirdre, one thing I didn't mention is sports people. Both
mm,
of us are sports people. Burnout can also happen in sports performance. And it doesn't mean that the burnout is coming from actually training for the sport. It could be from a different area of life. So, what's really important there is you could be burning out in one area, but it's showing up in your sport. Or
mm.
you could be burnt out from overtraining and it's showing up at work. So, it's really important to notice that when burnout happens, it impacts every single area of your life, work, sports, even things like your relationships. It really starts to get cynical and messy and ugly. So, really, if you think that you are on this trajectory, please pause, set yourself some honest boundaries that you can keep that are realistic for a couple of days in a row to see, can you notice change? And that reflection part is really important. Do I notice a change? Am I improving overall?
And what about habits, Claire? Have you any tips for people around habit formation so that
Yeah,
might
for, s-
improve what they're doing?
for sure. It has to be one at a time. I'm sure you've read James Clear, Atomic Habits. He almost goes in so deep that it's hard to like, oh God, how many steps are there to making a new habit? Really, what it is, pausing, considering what's beneficial for you now, and starting with the 15-minute rule. Can I do this for 15 minutes? Can I push back from the desk and take a walk for 15 minutes? And then once you try it once, say, can I do this 3 times a week? The following week, then it should be more like, I can do this. It's not can I anymore, it's I can. And then after a while, it's why am I so good at this? So you're self questioning. So the brain starts to think, oh, you are good at this, let's go. And all the time, it's constantly with the self, though. You have to build these habits slowly so that they're manageable, that they're not so far outside of your comfort zone that you can't achieve them. I think that's really important for everyone who's trying to add it in as well as their workload. Is keep it stupidly simple. KISS. Keep it stupidly simple. 15 minutes at a time. Don't, go, I'm going to do this 7 days a week. Ridiculous. It'll be gone after three. So it's try and make it twice a week, then 3 times a week. I can do this. Why am I so good at this? And it all starts to snowball then into a new habit. Consistency is key. Please don't try it 7 days a week. It's consistency.
Love that. I think that's such a great point as well. It's like it's no different to people who join the gym in January and then by February they're gone from it. And, I did that probably 20 something years ago and never again. But I think one of the things that I would add to that is to have something that triggers the habit. So something that's kind of a reminder that triggers the habit and makes it easier. It's a bit like flossing. If you don't floss your teeth, well, then put the tooth floss, put it right beside the toothpaste, right?
Yeah.
Put
Yeah.
the floss beside the toothpaste, and then you're going to remember to floss.
Yeah, it's a habit stack. You're
Yeah.
stacking the habits. So if you're not used to flossing and you're not good at it, leave it there beside it. If you're not used to drinking water, but you're going to be 10 hours, in front of a screen, the water should be there. There should be a constant, easy supply. Cheers. Yeah. Water obviously is a huge brain performer as well. But like you say, the trigger is really important. Whatever the trigger is, could be an alarm on your calendar. I started some of my habits with an alarm on my calendar. Actually, making videos for my business was an alarm on my calendar. Make a 2-minute video every single day. And then I discovered, oh, well, that's not going to be achievable. So I put it back to 3 days a week. So what I'm saying is start small, small time frame, make it manageable, make it achievable so that you can repeat consistently. And that's what James Clear is all about.
Love that. Claire, thank you so
Yeah.
much. Incredible things in there. I know you have a fantastic program as well. If anybody's going through burnout and would like to
Yeah.
hear about that, be sure to go and check her out. And she will help you create really great habits and experience that relief in 7 days or less. Claire, tell people where can they find you and what do you have coming up?
Okay, I'd be absolutely delighted to speak to anybody, even just to help them out for a half an hour. It's Claire at claireoconnor.co, not .com. I have to say this every time. I'm at Claire O'Connor Coaching on Instagram, Facebook. I love LinkedIn. It's probably my most dominant platform. I love it. But you can reach out to me anytime, or at Claire O'Connor Coaching online. So delighted to talk to anybody. Coming up then, I've just started a new 90-day program, which is for high-performing women. It's 90 days. By Christmas, these ladies are going to be rocking and rolling and on top of the world. A lot of them can feel the burnout. They're lacking the self-awareness. So that's the program I spent a couple of years studying. Of course, there's one-to-one coaching and lots of exciting things in the pipeline. But the one-to-one and the 90-day program to get people back to brilliance is very definitely on the menu at the moment.
Claire, you are most certainly brilliant and people should definitely go check you out. So thank you so much for joining the show. It's been a pleasure having you.
My absolute pleasure, Deirdre.
Okay, if anything Claire has just said has you going, oh shit, that's me. Well, you need to take her 2-minute burnout quiz. It's fast, it's free, and it's going to tell you exactly what phase you're in and what to do about it. You'll find it at claireoconnor.co. If you're scared to take it, that's your sign right there. Okay, let's land all of this and tie it all back in together. So Claire just dropped truth bomb after truth bomb on burnout. So what did she say? Let me sum it up. Burnout doesn't start when you collapse. It starts when you can't feel joy, can't make a decision, and can't stop pushing through. There are 5 phases of burnout, and most people are in stage 2 or 3 without even realizing it, probably most of the time. And if you take only one thing away from today, take this. Start saying, can I get back to you on that? Instead of saying yes. Because that little micro boundary could save your business, your body, and your freaking sanity. If you want to know what phase you're in, as I say, go and take Claire's Burnout Self-Awareness Quiz at claireoconnor.co. I'm going to link it in the show notes here so you'll be able to catch it as well. It's simple, it's smart, and it might just change your life. And hey, if this episode made you feel seen, share it with one entrepreneur who you know is maybe quietly drowning or struggling a little bit behind the scenes. And then do me a favor. Rate it, review the show, and follow wherever you're listening today, because around here we don't do burnout. What we do is we keep mastering your business and your energy. So until next time, keep mastering your business.